You see this guy on TV getting to it, man, getting the facts, representing the culture awesomely, man. We got our man Bakari Sellers on the line, and there's so much to talk about as it relates to the events of the Derek Chauvin verdict. You know what I'm saying? Found guilty on all 3 charges, but, we still have a sentencing on deck.
Yep, we've got 8 weeks, and Bakari Sellers is on the line. Good morning to you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Yeah, so first reaction, upon seeing the verdict, how was that for you?
It was a sigh. It was a sigh of relief. I don't know any black person that was excited. It wasn't a moment of excitement, but it was a sigh of relief because they finally got it right. We've seen so many of these cases where officers have just walked or not even been charged, and there's no closure for these families. And so yesterday was a day where we could breathe just a little bit lighter.
Yeah, and I also saw that federal prosecutors are considering bringing civil rights charges against Derek Chauvin as well in the murder of George Floyd. And if tried and convicted for that, he could serve even more time in prison. So what are your thoughts? Because now we're looking towards sentencing. What are your thoughts on how that might turn out and people's potential reactions?
Yeah, I want to be honest with folks. The state charges he's going to get between 10 and 14 years. And it's going to be concurrent because that's the guideline range. And so, I'm somebody who believes that they need to prosecute him on the federal level so he can actually get a punishment that fits the crime. Right now, I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed in 8 weeks because he's going to get what is not a sentence that I believe fits the crime.
Yeah. And even when you look at his what kind of conditions, most likely he'll be in. Because I know a lot of times, when people in law enforcement get sentenced, they're not in with regular people because of their previous job. So will it be a cushy experience for him or will it be nice and rough?
So the way you phrased that was interesting. For him in the state system, it's not going to be the most pleasant experience because imagine spending 23 and a half hours by yourself every day for years. He won't be a normal population, of course, because they don't put law enforcement officers, correctional officers, et cetera, in general pop. But he's going to be by himself, and that's just miserable for most folks. Now, if he's charged and tried and convicted in the federal crimes, then, he probably will be more in a camp-type atmosphere with other white-collar crimes, the Bernie Madoffs of the world, other law enforcement officers, et cetera.
Yeah. We've got Bakari Sellers on the line. You can watch him. We've been watching you on TV, just kind of giving your commentary on all of this. I want to switch gears a little bit to Vice President Kamala Harris, who vowed to continue urging the Senate to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Can you tell us a little bit about what you know about the act and your thoughts on the potential of that being passed and how that could affect things?
That's why I'm so happy that you all had me this morning, because yesterday wasn't justice. Yesterday was just accountability, and that should be the first step. That's where we are. Justice is making sure we have reforms in place that George Floyd in the future don't have to die. And so that's what the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. We're going to talk about things like banning chokeholds. You're going to talk about a standardized use of force. You're going to talk about a national database for bad actors. So now when you're fired from one department, you can't go to another department and get hired. We're going to talk about qualified immunity. All of these things that will change the way that we police. See, what pisses me off more than anything is people think yesterday was the end.
Right.
It wasn't. Yesterday was just the beginning, and if we don't go out and do the work necessary, then Georgia's life is going to be in vain. And so I need everybody calling their elected officials, your congressmen, your senators, call them today. Take 5-10 minutes today. I'm not asking you to win a Pulitzer Prize or a Nobel Peace Prize, but spend some time, call them, and let them know that they need to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act.
Now, as this situation, rolled down yesterday with the verdict in Derek Chauvin, which I agree with you, it's not overall victory. It's an act of accountability, and more people need to be held accountable. Over here, we also had another shooting yesterday that involved an officer and a woman who was armed. But when you look at everything that took place over the last couple of weeks with these mass shootings,
I wouldn't say a woman.
Okay, a young lady and a young girl, and when you look at these mass shootings, they managed to take these people in with their guns. No problem. This little girl had a knife, defending herself from the story goes she was being jumped and she was trying to defend herself, but they just rolled up and just started shooting. So
I look at this two ways as we look at the footage. The first is the officer. It looks like he might have saved another girl's life, right? Because it looks like the other girl in the pink was about to get cut up pretty good. But at the end of the day, why did he get out busting like that?
Right.
It's like you had no time to think.
Yeah, I mean, he was on the ground for 22 seconds and just opened fire?
Yeah, what about a taser?
Exactly. Like, confuse your gun for your taser on this one. Like, pull your taser out this time. If you would have tased the girl before she even got to this point, it wouldn't have been an issue. She would have been alive, and she could have gotten, she's in foster care now. There were some talks about her in the school system, et cetera, but she could have at least gotten the care that she needs. Now she took 4 or 5 bullets in her mask in 22 seconds, and it's a life loss. Yeah. And the young ladies who are out there fighting are going to be forever traumatized. And this officer, he better not be on anybody else's force anytime soon, because if you don't know how to engage or act in that situation, you don't need to be a police officer.
Big facts, man. Well, the PTSD continues, and it's another thing that we got to fight and another thing we're going to keep our eye on. Bakari Sellers, thank you so much for pulling up on us as usual. And where can people find you at?
Man, follow me at Bakari_Sellers on Twitter or Bakari Sellers on IG. But even more than following me today, man, follow your local congressman or senator and get on the phone and tell them to do some work.
We are the Morning Hustle.